Now at 5, the Scott County, Indiana Sheriff's Office is putting any and all bad actors in the area on notice.
The warning to Scottsburg businesses is this: if you sell THC vapes to anyone underage, you will be held responsible. It comes after a round of drug busts across 3 separate locations in the area selling illegal marijuana vapes.
Connor Steffen spoke with the sheriff for details on this investigation and what's next.
In Scott County, Indiana, the sheriff is putting any and all bad actors on notice.
And for anybody to think that I would stand by as their sheriff and get complaints on businesses selling products to our underage kids, if you think we're going to sit by and let that happen, you're crazy. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's not even thinkable for us here in Scott County. We're not going to allow that to happen.
The message stems from a months-long sting operation involving 3 locations selling THC vape cartridges to underage customers.
My agency had been making undercover purchases at the locations, so there's no secret of how we got in there and how we got the search warrants and those things happened.
The Scott County, Indiana Sheriff's Office issued 3 search warrants on Monday, 2 at local shops and 1 at a residence. The shops include this Country Boy Food Mart and this Scott's Food Mart, attached to a Marathon gas station. Scott County Sheriff Jerry Gooden says officers seized some $30,000 from all locations, as well as all illegal products allegedly for sale. As of now, both shops will remain open as the sheriff's office continues to work with state agencies.
Now, the Indiana State Excise can come in and pull licenses to be able to sell certain products.
The drug bust led to the arrest of these 2 men, Sagar Patel and Jagdish Kumar Patel. Sheriff Gooden says both have a connection to the 2 shops. They face charges including possession of marijuana, maintaining a common nuisance, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. To this point, the Sheriff's Department is unaware of any injuries or health emergencies stemming from the alleged illegal sale of marijuana vapes. When asked if there is a connection between the 3 locations, the Sheriff's Office declined to comment, but said their investigation into other locations continues. In Scott County, Indiana, Connor Steffen, WHAS11, on your side.
And right now, Indiana is one of only 12 states with no medical marijuana laws on the books. It's also one of only 19 states that still imposes jail time for simple possession of cannabis. Low-dose CBD oil is legal.
New developments now in an officer-involved shooting from last week. The teenage homicide suspect who was shot by an LMPD officer has died. According to LMPD, officers were conducting surveillance in Louisville's Wilder Park neighborhood. There, they found a 17-year-old homicide suspect and approached him. Police say he then showed a gun and began to run. He was wrestled to the ground and allegedly fired the gun. That's when Officer Benjamin Derby returned fire, hitting the suspect. Now today, 8 days later, that 17-year-old has died at the hospital, police tell us. LMPD's public integrity unit's handling this investigation.
The man accused of setting the Bardstown Road Krispy Kreme on fire was in court this morning. A judge saying she believes that he possesses a danger to others. According to his arrest citation, people witnessed Michael Moore set the building on fire around noon. It caused this damage, according to Louisville Fire. Moore used a plastic bottle and threw it on the roof to start the fire. Well, today, prosecutors argued his bond should stay at $100,000.
Intentionally starting a fire in that occupied business, the county's position is that the bond has been appropriately set and should not be reduced at this time.
Now, the judge agreed, keeping his bond at $100,000. He pled not guilty to arson and wanton endangerment. Well, after a violent night across the city, Metro Police are investigating 4 separate shootings.
And all of them happened in a span of just 90 minutes. Police say a teenager died in one of them. That one happened just before 9:30 last night in the Chickasaw neighborhood. Police found a teen shot dead in front of a yard, right in front of a house on Garland and Lewis Coleman Jr. Drive.
And another teen was shot in the Shawnee neighborhood. Police say they were called to West Market and Amy Avenue around 9:15 last night. The teen was taken to a local hospital and is expected to recover.
And right before that, a man had died after a shooting off Versailles Lane in Okolona. Police arrested and charged 31-year-old Nathan Short with that murder.
And finally, just before 10:30, there were reports of a shooting in the Portland neighborhood. Officers say they found a man on North 20th Street with a gunshot wound to his head. He was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Investigators do not believe any of these shootings are related. If you have any information that can help detectives, call the anonymous tip line 574-LMPD or use their online portal. Well, after 2 months, JCPS leaders respond to that blistering audit of their transportation system.
Superintendent Dr. Marty Polio says the school district agrees with the majority of the recommendations, but he is pushing back on what he calls inaccurate claims made by the auditing company. Isaiah Kim Martinez and Alyssa Newton are live at Van Hoos now. Isaiah, so there was a discussion about this today?
Well, Shay, Connie, there was JCPS Superintendent Marty Polio telling an advisory committee that the school district has either already implemented or planning to implement nearly all of the recommendations listed in that scathing audit that we saw just a couple months ago. Now, one of the new details I want to introduce you to, they're talking about this new 5 work team system. So introducing 5 new work teams to divvy up responsibilities for a successful start to next school year. Polio also says they're going to be enforcing what's called a pause period toward the end of this July. That's essentially a cutoff time when the district won't add any more bus stops after that. That's to give drivers and families enough time to be ready for next year's bus routes.
I think the single most significant thing that caused the delays was the addition of bus stops once it came in. And so if I would to say if I could go back and do something, it would be this pause period where you'd say, okay, no bus stops are being added after July 25th. You know, we'll get to those.
You'll remember the audit was done by Prismatic. That's an education consultant hired by the school board to investigate that first day of school meltdown. The audit found JCPS's communication and collaboration in the transportation plan was ineffective. Now, in a 19-page response sent to board members, Polio says they're making the necessary improvements, but he did, Shay and Connie, take a couple shots at Prismatic, calling some of the claims, quote, erroneous assertions, basically saying false claims. He says they've downplayed some of the driver shortages JCPS has dealt with and have also downplayed the salaries they've increased to help keep them. Guys.
All right, Isaiah, thanks so much for the update there. Now to the results from Tuesday's 2024 primary. One of the closest races of the night was the Metro Council seat for District 4. Ken Herndon defeated 9 other opponents for the Democratic nomination for Metro Council District 4. That governs downtown Louisville, Butchertown, and New Lou. He is now looking ahead to November. There's no Republican challenger in that race.
Got our message out, and we're very happy, and I look forward to the fall. There's no Republican, so we expect to win, of course, and so I will be taking office unless lightning strikes me on January of 2025, and I look forward to serving the people of the 4th District for the next 4 years.
And over in District 8, representing the Highlands, Ben Reno Weber defeated his primary opponent for a spot on the November ballot. The incumbent beat Taylor McGovern Ucelis by just over 1,400 votes. Reno Weber said he's grateful for the reflection of voters' faith in the job he's doing.
I was already in this seat and doing this work, and I'm grateful that the residents of District 8 thought we were doing a good job, and I'm grateful and humbled that we have the opportunity to do it again.
Well, this was not the first race between Reno Weber and McGovern Ucelis. Reno Weber was appointed to fill the council seat when it was vacated by State Senator Cassie Chambers Armstrong back in 2023. McGovern Ucelis also ran to fill that vacancy. Well, if you'd like to see the vote tallies and a complete breakdown of results from yesterday, head to our homepage on WHAS11.com. You'll find our primary election coverage there at a link right at the top of the page.
And Shay, according to Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams, voter turnout for the primary was 13% of registered voters, which is right in the middle of that expected 10 to 15% range. And this year, we saw a record number of Kentuckians use the early voting options. Over 75,000 people cast their votes ahead of Election Day. It's something Secretary Michael Adams says helps, but it's not the majority of voters.
No, the early voting numbers were up but they're still not the majority of the vote. Most of the vote gets cast on Election Day. That's typical. In most states, you have Election Day being the favorite day, but having more days for people to vote does make a difference. My wife and daughter both voted Saturday. My wife works during the week. My daughter's in school during the week, and they both love the early voting.
Secretary Adams also said the primary is more of a personality contest versus a policy contest.